thought that they'd made a mistake. They were already announcing it on the news, and I thought that they had just made an incredible mistake, that it was somebody else. When it finally sunk in to my head that he and Richie and the Big Bopper and the young pilot, Roger, were dead, it was just like, from that point on, it was just like somebody turning the lights out. Everything just stopped.
I was working, and I went home from my house for lunch. My wife told me that she'd just heard over the news that there had been a plane crash, and Buddy was in the plane and had been killed, and I might ought to get out of my work clothes and go over to my mother's house, which I did, and when I got there, I found out that, yes, it was true. And it pretty devastating, to tell you the truth.
The day after the accident, Coroner Ralph Smiley wrote the death certificates of all 4 victims.
The skull was split medially in the forehead, and this extended into the vertex region. Approximately half the brain tissue was absent. There was bleeding from both ears, and the face showed multiple lacerations. The consistency of the chest was soft, due to extensive crushing injury of the bony structure. The left forearm was fractured 1/3 of the way up from the wrist, and the right elbow was fractured. Both thighs and legs showed multiple fractures. There was a small laceration of the scrotum. Fingerprints were taken of the deceased for purposes of identification.
My name is Bill Griggs. I live in Lubbock, Texas, and I'm considered a Buddy Holly historian. It's not something I want to dwell on, but there's a lot of rumors about that plane crash, and I've always wanted to investigate those and put them to rest if I could. There's been talk that maybe there was a cover-up of some sort up in the Mason City, Clear Lake area. Why would there be a cover-up? The most mysterious thing about that is the only autopsy done was done on the body of Roger Peterson, the pilot, and it was done after the body was embalmed. You can't do a blood test. If there were drugs being used, if there was something wrong, there's no way they could check on that. Whether that was a cover-up, I have no idea. It was attributed to pilot error. The CAB report said that. But anytime you have an airplane crash and the pilot dies, you blame the pilot.
The CAB investigation centered on a piece of flight equipment, the Sperry Altitude Gyro. This tells the pilot whether he's going up or going down. The CAB believed Peterson misread his gyro and thought he was climbing when in fact he was diving, an accusation hotly refuted by Dwyer.
This is the actual gyro out of that airplane. This is what the FAA attributed the accident to. This is all he'd ever used. To say he was unfamiliar with it, to me, is ridiculous. First of all, I have no reason to believe that he should have even been looking at this gyro. If I could see the little tail end of the tail light, I can't believe he couldn't have seen all the lights in Clear Lake and even come around and landed back at the airport if he had a problem. The FAA indicated that he was unfamiliar with the airplane. Well, he flew it like 250 hours in the preceding 6 months, and let me tell you, you're very familiar with most anything if you, in an airplane anyway, if you sit there for 250 hours in a 6-month period.
Why did that aircraft crash? The only one that may know for sure would be Jerry Dwyer. He still gets death threats on the telephone. That's horrible. They say that he killed Buddy Holly. Jerry Dwyer had nothing to do with killing Buddy Holly. That was an accident, pure and simple.
Jerry Dwyer would not put a man behind the controls of an airplane if that man did not know every one of the controls of that airplane. That young man, Roger Peterson, I am convinced knew everything about that airplane, and I know that the official report, quote, blames the pilot.
We've had different theories. People have said that the Big Bopper and Buddy, or Buddy and Richie, or somebody was trying to change their seat in the airplane. If you ever get inside a Beechcraft Bonanza, 1947 Model B, you're eating your knees, as we say. I mean, there's just no room. There's no way that they could have moved around in that airplane. It's also been suggested that Buddy Holly was trying to fly that aircraft. He was taking flying lessons. And they had the type of steering mechanism that could be flipped over in front of Buddy Holly. But that plane had just taken off, and I do not think that Roger Peterson, while still trying to reach altitude and all and get on the proper flight path, would say, "Here, buddy, take the aircraft." I really don't believe that happened.
I don't know about the gun, but I'll guarantee you nobody pulled a gun and nobody shot nobody. That's bull.
Buddy Holly did have a pistol on board in the bottom of this overnight bag that he had in his lap on that flight. But he carried the pistol basically because he was being paid on cash. And when you carry around that much cash, you want protection. He had this little, what we call a Saturday night special in the bottom of that bag.
Somebody slashed his tires one night on that tour, and so I don't know why. I guess I had it. We was traveling in 2 cars, so I said, I've got a little pistol in my luggage. He said he wanted it, so that's when he got it. Like July of the year before.
Well, during the crash, because of the weight of that pistol, the pistol was ripped out of the bag, the bottom of the bag was gone, and went down into the snow.
The truth is that the gun was not fired during the flight, but by the farmer that discovered it.
I've heard people say that there might have been foul play involved, but nothing could be further from the truth. It was just simply an accident, and a tragic accident at that.
Buddy Holly's funeral was on February 7th, 1959, in the Tabernacle Baptist Church, Lubbock. Reverend Johnson, who had conducted Buddy's wedding only 6 months before, took the service. Maria Elena, who had suffered a miscarriage on hearing of Buddy's death, was too distraught to attend. She has never visited Buddy's grave.
When I walked into the church, it was very crowded. The reason that stands out in my mind is because I had a hard time finding a seat. I realized somewhere through the ceremony that Maria Elena was not present. So as soon as the service was over, I had gone back to the house. I didn't go to the cemetery at that point to just check on her. And so she was in the process of packing with her aunt to leave for New York.
Buddy was laid to rest in Lubbock Cemetery with a simple stone carved with his name in the original spelling. It would be another 12 months before his family received anything from his estate. The money owed by his former management didn't amount to too much, only $35,000, but ironically, it would have been enough to prevent him going on that fateful tour. The rest of the band were under great pressure to complete the tour.
They've promised us a real big bonus if we'll finish the tour. And it was like we almost didn't have a choice. What about the funeral? We have to finish the tour. What about the guys? They're gone. You know, they're going to bring in Frankie Avalon and Fabian. Those are nice guys to meet. I love Frankie, was real great. Fabian was nice to me, but it wasn't Buddy.
I was devastated, you know. I wanted to go home, and they finally begged us till we would play that night. Well, we got drunk and played. I still remember some of it, you know.
Man, you know, he's one of the strongest men I believe I've ever met. Most men look up to Waylon Jennings. He's a man's man. His heart was broken. It's a real difficult thing to walk out on stage and perform with a broken heart.
If you knew Peggy Sue, then you'd know why
It took Waylon Jennings over 20 years to come to terms with Buddy's death. After years of drink and drug addiction, he finally found superstardom in the world of country music. He always acknowledged his debt to Buddy.
I learned more in that short time around him, and got some of the best advice of my entire life that I have used through the years. And there's never a week goes by that I don't think of Buddy.
Carl Bunch is now a minister of God, preaching his own version of the Gospels through Buddy's music.
For which my heart yearns, he said he's coming back, and Jesus won't lie. That'll be the day I learn how to fly. Well, that'll be the day.
Whole new generations are turned on to Buddy's music through the gospel. Buddy Holly has opened more doors for me in the short few weeks that I knew him than anybody else that I've ever known.
Your love for me got to be real.
February the 3rd may have been the day that Buddy Holly died, but it was not the day that his music died. The 22-year-old skinny Texan with thick-rimmed glasses remains a hero of modern music. He inspired a generation of musicians, Dylan, Springsteen, Lennon, and McCartney. To date, there are over 100 versions of That'll Be the Day. His passion for rock and roll, his gift for popular melodies, and unique ability to tap into universal emotions made him an extraordinary talent who was tragically taken from us on that dark winter night in Iowa.
I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be. You're gonna give your love to me. A love to last more than one day. A love is love and not fade away. A love is love and not fade away.